Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee. Of course, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back yet again. I know it's been a little longer here. I know it's been a while. We've had a little bit of a break in terms of, whether it be technical issues or storms coming in, ruining our internet here.
Yeah.
But we've managed to overcome it. We are back. We are back.
Yep.
And we are ready to go here. Give you guys some NFL dosage for the drugs that you're fiending for. So listen, we're going to be breaking down something a little bit new. We do this every single year. We talk a little bit about like the Madden ratings and what have you. We don't necessarily agree with the official Madden ratings, and we're going to tell you why, and we're going to go over our personal renewed ratings for you guys out there. But thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the show, please do us a huge favor. I know it's been a while, but head over to our channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below, because guess what, everybody? This is not pre-recorded. We are live right now. So if you comment down below, we're going to react to it. If you have a question, we're going to answer it. That's what this is all about, being interactive. And we are self-proclaimed, but we are the best interactive NFL talk show out there, and we want to prove it to everybody out there. So follow us. You can even follow us on Facebook, YouTube, etc. We're here.
Yeah, let's face it. We're better than the Olympics right now, Joe.
We are better
Nobody
than the
wants
Olympics.
to watch that garbage right now. Come on, give me
Right.
a break. So, all right. So, yeah, there's before we get to the Madden ratings, like that's always fun to do. We do the re-ratings. It's funny is we always we would have to make a different list ourselves here, but we actually take the data that they have and and put it to what really makes a quarterback and things, and then we do the math here using their data and re-rate it and fix what they had started and messed up with. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But there's a little bit of news going on. Camps have started. Unfortunately, some injuries have already happened around the league too as well.
Right.
I was just reading about Rondale Moore and stuff like that too. I mean, and it stinks to see that, but this is what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And
right.
tomorrow we get to see some football tomorrow night. So it's going to be amazing. I'm going to watch my Giants play the Detroit Lions. I'm interested to see if they do put Daniel Jones out there for a play or so and see how long he does play.
Right.
If he does.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see some of this kick off. It's funny how fast it kind of goes.
It is, and we've been waiting for this. We always have that. As NFL fans, we have that hiatus of where there's really no news coming out. There's nothing going on. There is stuff going on behind closed doors, and movements is being made in the front office. But we're just like, man, we're just kind of thirsting for any kind of information or maybe something that the team's thinking about doing or preseason games. We just can't wait for that to get here. And now we're here. Training camp has kicked off already. Preseason games right around the corner. And it's going to be exciting for a lot of fans because this gives the fan bases a first-time look at their team, whether it be the young rookies that they drafted, whether it be guys trying to make the team, or even if you just want to see like the new addition to the team, right? Like the player that just got signed in free agency, I want to see him in action. So a lot of excitement, a lot of positive thinking at this time of the year for all teams. Everybody thinks they can win the Super Bowl right now. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, we improved enough.
Right now,
we think we can push for the, but that's the goal for everybody, and it should be. But not for some, not that realistic. But we can't wait to see these preseason games. I have to wait till Saturday. The Raiders have their preseason game Saturday, so I got to wait to see that. Of course, I'm going to try to watch as many games as possible, obviously for show purposes. But it'll be cool to see some of like the rookies that get a first-time glance at. It'll be cool to see maybe different coaching staffs taking over and how they go about attacking the preseason season, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess the biggest news that's gone down lately, early this week, we've heard now that the 49ers are totally ready now to listen to trades and have Brandon Ayuk involved in this and try and find a new home for him. So after all the months of saying no things are there, and he's like, no, we haven't talked for a while, and all this, and we want him here, and that's finally now all right. Let's find a place. So they narrowed it down to a couple different places, but now as of last night, Patriots are out, and apparently they had offered a decent amount of money for him, but I don't think Brandon Ayuk was really looking forward to going to New England. So now it's narrowed down a bit. But Joe, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that New England situation?
Here's what the interesting part is I just like Jim mentioned, like Ayuk didn't want to go to New England, and that's what obviously when you look at that whole situation right now, right? They're in rebuild mode. So they have the rookie come in, Drake May, and they're hoping that he could kind of take the helm and be the starter. But at the same time, there's some unshaky ground right there because they're still rebuilding, because they still need to add more assets, because they still need to add more talent to that roster overall, more on offense and defense, that it's not a situation Ayuk wants to go in, because can he win a Super Bowl? No, they are not ready yet. And maybe they'll surprise a lot of people out there, if they hit the ground running and they execute and everything. But I think for Ayuk, the offer was crazy. Like the Patriots their contract offer was $32 million on average per year, which is right up there with the likes of Justin Jefferson, who just signed the mega deal he signed. So they were willing to cash in. They were willing to make a trade. But Ayuk's like, nah, that's not my spot. I don't want to go there, so we're not doing this. So that's where the trade got squashed, and now the Patriots are out of it. And it might be a good thing for both sides, So you look at Ayuk and you look at, what that whole situation encountered, and if he went, let's just say he did decide, like, okay, I'm in, whatever, they're going to pay me the money, I'll go there. Now the forward thinking of that is that he's in an environment that isn't necessarily ready to win now, and what's going to happen is over the course of the year or two, he's going to grow frustrated because we're not getting to the big dance. We're not even making it to the playoffs. We're falling short every year. Why did I decide to come here, even though they're paying me crazy money? What is it? I need to leave. I want to trade again. I want to get out of here. So I just kind of saw that happening if that actually took place. But this is also good for the Patriots because now don't cash in on one player. $32 million on average per year is a lot of money, and I get it. The salary cap continues to go up every single year. More money is available to spend and all that. But you don't want to cripple your franchise in terms of rebuilding too quickly. But build it slowly. Build it the right way. So
don't fall into that thing to where, because again, we've talked about this. There's many generations of people now that people growing up that never saw the Patriots suck. So they can't fall into that hole of being like, well, now we got to get right back to where we are. We need to get back to this. We can't have our lull, another decade of being bad or whatnot. We should reload and just retool and just go. But like you said, don't fall into that because you're selling too much on this guy. And for what? You got a young quarterback. You can want to do it the Patriot way, right? And then and get some more weapons around him and not break the bank already. You know what I mean? You got him in that small contract right now. If he does become the starter sooner than later, build around him and then get a star weapon in free agency next year or whatnot, and it could be even better than what Brandon Ayuk.
And it doesn't have to be free agency.
Or even the
go
draft
into the draft and draft yourself a stud wide receiver, an up and coming receiver. You know
that
what
would
I mean?
be something that the Patriots haven't done ever though.
I mean,
So
when's the last time? It's before Bill Belichick. And even then, or actually, no, it was with Bill Belichick, with the New England Patriots, but it wasn't a draft pick. It was a trade.
Yeah.
They traded for Randy Moss to go to New England.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't think they've ever gone and made a decision like, okay, this draft, we're getting the best receiver. You know what I mean? In our eyes, we're getting the best receiver in the draft, and we're going to grow with that young talent. So
they hit on tight ends. Pretty good. You know what I mean?
I mean, towards the end of Bill's tenure there, like they were, they couldn't find a tight end. Even in free agency, they couldn't. They could even they signed a tight end in free agency. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
So, but going along with the whole Ayuk thing, the other part of it too for New England is compensation wise, they were willing to give up that crazy contract, but at the same time, what compensation would they have to give in terms of draft picks? Because the rumors were that they were going to trade Kendrick Bourne. Now, we've heard from the 49ers in their camp that they want a trade-off of some sort. So, like, they want a wide receiver and draft compensation. Mm-hmm. So, if you're New England, you're willing to give up Kendrick Bourne. Are you kidding me? Like, he's not even top 20. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to, like, oh, we're going to offer you Kendrick Bourne. But that means that way higher compensation. So now you might be talking about 2 1s and Bourne.
Yeah.
And if Niners still aren't happy, okay, throw in this or throw in that. So they didn't. I think that it got to the point where it was like too rich to pull the trade off, and they're like, let's go a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, now we're hearing again that they have so far have accepted the offer from the Cleveland Browns now, and the Cleveland Browns were the other team that was in there. And from what I've heard from reading and rumors that Amari Cooper might be packaged in this deal too. But I'm interested to see what the draft compensation is because, again, Amari Cooper, he's good and, he's not bad, but, he's 30 years old, 30-year-old.
He's 30,
wide receiver here, and Brandon Ayuk is still young. He can get you there, obviously, to slide you in this spot here with this team, with the many weapons that they have, and be successful and get you into a nice Super Bowl run right now. And that's what they're kind of looking for. They're a guy they can plug in and be like, all right, this guy is pretty decent. And we can get some of those draft picks to mortgage towards the future a little bit too, and maybe fill the spot after Amari Cooper is done again. Because once you hit 30 at wide receiver, then it's your time's limited for most.
Yeah, it's that age group for anybody in any given position where, like, you hit 30, and it just seems like when you get over the hill, so to speak, at 30 in NFL years, it's like you're 60. You know what I mean? Like, your body's been taking a toll for many years playing this very physical sport. And, a lot of guys are lucky and they end up staying healthy all throughout, but they still take some damage here and there. So for a 30-year-old wide receiver, typically what happens is either you tend to lose a step, like a little bit of speed, or your injuries that have piled up over the years now come back to haunt you. And now you get injured more often and you're not available. And to a team, they're going to look at that and be like, well, we need to figure out a way to get out of this contract now. We don't want them. So, and how much longer can you play after 30 in the NFL? It's such a very, tumultuous and tough type of sport that you've held up this long. Can you last? How much longer can you last? For Amari Cooper, he's had a really good career so far. Hitting 30 years old, does he last 2 more years? Does he last 3 more years before he starts to tail off? So for any team taking him on, you got to be thinking that, like, okay, well, short term, 2-3 years max, maybe. We're looking at still in his prime-ish Amari Cooper, where we can win with him.
Yeah.
So for the Niners, and here's the interesting part of that whole. The trade offer, I think, from Cleveland is more like Cooper and a second rounder for Brandon Ayuk. And if that's the case, if you're the Niners are ready to win now.
Yeah.
They're not waiting. They're not looking to build for the future. They have all the pieces right now. And they were at the big dance against the Chiefs and fell really badly. We don't want to talk about that, right, Niners fans? Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to get into that. But nonetheless, you're looking at Cooper as, okay, we could have him for at least 2 years, and he can still play at a high level for 2 years. We can do this and maybe win a chip, even though we're trading Ayuk away. And I would argue that Amari Cooper kind of fits that San Francisco 49er offense better than Ayuk. I know Ayuk stretches the field, and that's like kind of his job, but Niners always look for that kind of like real physical, gritty type of wide receiver with speed. It would be a plus. And you have both with Cooper. you have the new rookie in Ricky Parasol that is physical and tough and makes tough catches and, has the speed to go with it too. So, like, that's kind of like what they look for in a wide receiver. So to bring Cooper in, it makes all the sense for both parties. And then on the other side, the Browns get their fast, dynamic receiver that can stretch the field, and he fits more of what Cleveland wants to do. So after they're done running the rock with Nick Chubb, they're going to play action and then send it deep to Ayuk. So it makes sense for both teams in that scenario to make a trade happen. The only other thing, though, and this is kind of debatable, is can Cleveland afford him? Like, the compensation can be agreed to very easily, but look at all the stars they have on that roster now. Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson, they're paying him a lot of money. So, like, you got so much money
really
going around on that roster. Can you really afford adding another stud like Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah. Yeah, and you talk about I just said about desperation and things like that. That's the big part of it is what Cleveland has done. Because now, if you didn't have to guarantee all that 100% of that money to Deshaun Watson and things like that, because you were desperate to get a quarterback, and you wouldn't be even in a situation to where you're not sure if you can afford some of these guys to make these moves, because you want to be in the same type of spot that like the 49ers in. You're like, okay, I can unload this guy and then get this dude and pay him just a little bit more money, and now we're making that push. We got that piece that can just give it over that hump, because it seems like Cleveland for the last, I would even say decade now has been like kind of that spot to where we know the Lions are right now. The Lions just did it quicker and were smarter about it and pulled the trigger and were very good at drafting and didn't go all in on one of these veteran quarterbacks, made a savvy trade, and they drafted the rest and moved forward and got that head coach that they really needed to as well, to kind of get the momentum behind everybody. Right. So that was a big part of it. In Cleveland with Stefanski and these guys, I was actually surprised that they gave him that extension, too, on this, because I think it's like go time for him, because you've been there so long. You've had many weapons, other quarterbacks that you had drafted that, you put the weapons behind and still never went anywhere, and still a decent defense. And what have you got to show for it? Now the Haslams have invested way too much money now on, Deshaun Watson, and he's been injury prone. And you went farther, with Joe Flacco, who's just off the couch last season. So, hopefully they do have, Nick Chubb coming back here, being healthy and being back to what he was, which is going to be the main workhorse here in Njoku. Obviously going to be a big part of this team too. He took a little longer to kind of be that guy we were hoping he was going to be, but he is now. And that's the thing with the Cooper. That's a great fit for the 49ers, because like you said, Joe, he doesn't have to be that number one there. I think at Cleveland, he's kind of forced, like he has to be that guy at 30 years old to be the number one receiver. Now when he's at the 49ers, he doesn't have to be. You got Debo, you've got Kittle, you've got McCaffrey. So he's still going to do his thing and still be great, but he's not the only one. It kind of seems like, Cleveland.
Well, and he's got help now. So, like, even if he stays in Cleveland, you got Jerry Jeudy that they got in a trade.
Yeah, I get you, but he's also often injured.
They have, but see, the thing is like when you go to a different team altogether, like different facility, different trainers, different environment, different everything, like the dietitians are going to tell you to do stuff differently. And that all might happen, and it might be better for that said player. So like Jerry Jeudy, this is a whole new environment, and we've seen him show flashes before. We've seen him, the talent is there. It's not, it's not like, they haven't unlocked it yet. He has shown that he can play at this level. He can do it at a relatively high level in terms of talent. And you look at that roster, the roster's ready to win now for Cleveland even. Like, they can even push, and not just for the division either. Like, it could be, they could push into the playoffs. Like, they are built to win now. Their defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL. Their offense just has to catch up to it. And part of that, and like I know you alluded to Kevin Stefanski and how like people are starting to question him as a coach, but it's kind of hard to put the blame on the head coach when you don't have your starting quarterback available. You don't have all your weapons on the field at the same time. and I'm not trying to make excuses for Cleveland, but at the same time, you don't have your best talent out there. Like, the best product isn't going to be shown. So now it looks like right now everybody's healthy now. Chubb is coming back healthy. David Njoku is playing out of his mind last season. And now if Deshaun Watson can stay healthy and stay with this team all year round, you're going to look at a whole different beast on the offensive side of the ball. And Stefanski will no longer be questioned. Now, we talked about this on the show, too, about Mike Vrabel and how he's waiting in the wings at this point. Yeah. He's on the coaching staff. And this is one of those scenarios that I feel like the front office for Cleveland is thinking it this way. Is they're like, okay, we got Vrabel in there. That's awesome. We got him locked in. He's with us. Now, this year is a prove-it year for Stefanski. And I know people are like, well, he just signed an extent. Who cares? Yeah. Coaches get fired all the time. 1 year in, 2 years in. So I don't look at Stefanski being extended as like, oh, he's locked in for 3 years. I look at it as they locked him in because they don't want to lose him right now. But now you have Vrabel waiting in the wings, who's already proven head coach. He's a very good head coach. This year is a prove-it year for Stefanski in this team. Despite injuries, despite everything, they got to show more than what they've been able to put out there.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's what like we said earlier on in the off season, and you're seeing it in training camps how he's right there running with the teammates, the team, and everything, and all the players. Yep. And these guys, they'll go to battle for him if he's out there doing the same thing and with them, and that's the thing. You got him on your staff doing that. That's tough for Stefanski, I think, even too. He's like, oh, all right, well, tone it down, buddy. Chill out. So yeah, that's the scenario. We're still waiting to hear what goes on. If it does, the news break, tonight, we're going to try and break it for everybody out there. But then also, we've heard that the Pittsburgh Steelers might be in the fold too with this, and that would make a lot of sense too with what's going down in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the Steelers, they're definitely involved. They're definitely, and to our very own OG know-it-all, Mike Tackett, he's the one that told us a month ago.
Yeah,
it feels like that. He's like, watch out for the Steelers. The Steelers could maybe be looking to trade for Ayuk. It's going to happen. And here we have, grumblings of the Steelers talking, maybe in phone conversation or whatever, like talking to the agent, talking to the Niners. And now it's coming to light that Pittsburgh is interested. Pittsburgh is kind of looking at it, but the hang-up is that the Steelers, I feel, do not want to trade an asset they have. It's not like they want to trade George Pickens to the Niners to get Ayuk. And that's what the Niners are looking for. Like we mentioned earlier, trade-off. They're looking for a wide receiver to replace Ayuk and compensation. Will the Steelers be able to do that? Because I think it's too rich of a price for the Steelers to pull off, and you got to pay Ayuk $30+ million on average per year. So the Steelers typically don't do something like this. So I think the conversations are being had. It's being well documented, and they're going through very methodically and trying to figure a reasonable solution on both sides. But this is something that you typically don't see Pittsburgh do, where they unload future assets and draft compensation, unload a player on top of that, and pay buku dollars to the guy coming in. So to me, I'm taking the stance of like cautionary, and I'm like, we'll see. We'll see if this actually goes through. But it is interesting to talk about for the Steelers. And Mike Tomlin, he would be excited to get Ayuk.
Yeah, that's the thing though too. And Mike Tomlin, that's what
Russell
I think
Wilson,
it is. He's
Justin
also
Fields.
Yeah, because you heard him talk openly about a lot of dudes. I think it was even on the receiver show. You see him talking to guys out there and giving them props and stuff like that. And and he wouldn't be doing his due diligence if he didn't reach out. Because if it's there and the 49ers are saying, hey, we're open and we're listening, you got to say, all right, well, what about this? Because we even heard this on the Hard Knocks with the Giants and stuff in the offseason where some of these talks happened way beyond, and it was just even on the sidelines of some practices here and there and stuff like that where they're like, hey man, what would you do if I gave you a couple picks like this and this guy? Would you take that or something? Or I'm just saying,
Yeah, right.
Would you what are you serious? Yeah. Yeah. I might be interested. All right. All right. And then they start
Right.
shooting the shit and everything, and then it goes down. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny when you get to peel back the curtain and get to see some of this stuff and how these conversations really actually go down. So
Yeah, and there's and we
like
got
I
more.
said, it would be exciting for Steelers fans. I think anybody,
Yeah.
a fan of any team,
Oh, yeah, of
would
course.
love to have Brandon Ayuk.
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't you?
But
Like,
at what cost? Exactly.
Exactly. The cost is great in terms of contract, and the cost could be great depending on trade compensation. So another team that is interested too is Washington Commanders. We've heard ties because Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback there, has been working out with Brandon Ayuk before training camp hit. They were doing their own private workouts, and they grew they grew a relationship. They became friends or whatnot, and they worked and trained together. So there's a connection there. Like they've been working out together and whatnot. So I think it would be a great idea for Washington because, I mean, just imagine that offense because they have already improved everything across the board, offensively, defensively. The protection up front is better. They have Terry McLaurin already there, Scary Terry. Imagine teaming him up with Brandon Ayuk on the opposite side. Like, that would be something special, especially for a rookie quarterback coming in. You got two guys that you could count on distributing the football to all season long. Like, that to me just makes a lot of sense for Washington. Now, Washington, with Dan Campbell as a new head coach, of course, you're going to try to, like, maybe talk to the Niners about this because
Dan Quinn, right?
or Dan Quinn,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I get it.
But of course, it's going to happen. These conversations are being held right now. With Washington's has been the early candidate, but not publicly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they've been rumored to be in talks, or they've been rumored to have interest, but now it's official. Like everybody knows that they're definitely all in. So. That, to me, would be interesting, too, because you have a quarterback on a rookie scale, like wage scale. So you're not paying their quarterback anything. You can allocate those funds to pay Ayuk and have Scary Terry there. And if you can agree on compensation with drafting, because they're going to look for compensation, too, like wide receivers. So what are they going to offer? They're not offering Terry McLaurin. You know what I mean? They're going to offer one of these backup receivers that they have or have brought in, and maybe kind of use that as a package deal. So I like that relationship there. I like the situation that Washington presents for Ayuk. But now for Washington, you have to convince Ayuk he's coming to a winning culture. He's coming to a team that is going to be pushing for the playoffs this year. And with a rookie quarterback, that's going to be kind of hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the part of it. I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to sell it on winning, or you're going somewhere, especially when you've got the Eagles in your division and the Cowboys, constantly making the playoffs. So basically,
But losing in round one.
Yeah, no, I hear you there, but I mean, it's tough. But we've seen Washington do it before. We've seen those other two teams kind of falter, and Washington just happens to sneak in. And I think they do have a lot of momentum with new ownership and now the new regime in there. Dan Quinn again knows how to run a defense, so he'll get that defense tuned in. And like you said, Brandon Ayuk to any offense, especially that one with Terry McLaurin and things, that can only help Jaden Daniels, but also too, I mean that offense altogether as a whole. Now you got two stud wide receivers right there on either end, and the running back Brian Robinson too as well. So I mean. And Jaden Daniels, the fact that he's kind of a multi-tool type of guy, too, who can scramble and get out of the pocket and make some plays. So, I mean, that is a dynamic here in that Cliff Kingsbury offense. So, I think that would be really interesting to see and exciting on its part, too, as well.
Absolutely. Another team, too, that we can touch on is...
Sure.
And we're just throwing... The rest of these teams haven't been tied to the Ayuk thing. It hasn't been... reported
now we're
of
kind
that.
of looking at which kind of looking at teams that might be fun,
right?
now we're like, hey,
right, exactly. So now we're looking at teams that could pull this off and are in the lane, if you will, to do this. I think Kansas City Chiefs makes all the sense in the world right now. Like you look at this team, and people have been having question marks about the receiving core of this. Like I get it. They drafted the speedster and Xavier Worthy, the fastest man on in the NFL anyway. Hollywood Brown they bring in, Rashee Rice, but Rashee Rice, we're not really sure that court situation. We're not really sure about what his future holds with the NFL, because the NFL still hasn't issued a suspension for Rashee Rice. And I feel like they're waiting to see in court, is he guilty? Is he not guilty? Does it get thrown out? And then they're going to issue a punishment. So in what degree are they going to issue it? Is it going to be 8 games? Is it going to be 10 games? Is it going to be 6, 4, whatever? That's going to be interesting to see, because I would say this. In a world where the Chiefs have been, they're multiple Super Bowl championship winners. They went back to back, winning their chips, and now they're in a position to do it again. And they always pick at the end of the first round. So if you're a Chiefs fan, if you're someone that just loves football, you look at the Chiefs and you're like, well, they routinely pick in the lower end of the first round, let alone the last pick in the first round. Why not give up a first round, even if it costs 2? Even if it costs 2 firsts, you're going to get yourself a proven commodity in a speedster in Ayuk to team him up with possibly Rashee Rice if he's still there, if he's still not serving a suspension. Hollywood Brown would be in that rotation, and you have your young kid in Xavier Worthy. So now you just kind of shored up that receiving group. Now you have no question marks, because you have Ayuk there, you have Hollywood Brown, you have a young kid in Xavier Worthy, and obviously Rashee Rice. We have to wait and see what happens there, and then you have depth behind that. So now you're a championship team. You're going for that 3rd win. You're going for the three-peat. That's what that's what it's about. It's about the three-peat. So why not push all your chips into the center of the table and say, you know what? Let's make this trade happen. Let's give him the money, and now let's go try to win another one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one too as well. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and even though the Chiefs do have Kelsey on a big contract and all this stuff, they make the money work. And
they'll figure something out.
Yeah, like you said, you have an opportunity to make history, and I know the Chiefs are all about that. They're not going to kind of just blow this off and do this,
right?
And yes, they could still win with the receivers that they have, but like you said, the difference with Brandon Ayuk, what he would make with the offense would be astronomical. And I think they have depth to get rid of. I could see Sky Moore going in this trade with some draft picks. And again,
it would have to be 2 receivers then, because Sky Moore hasn't done anything.
No, I hear you. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It would be probably a couple. He's got to be one of them at least. If they didn't go for somebody higher, they're like, maybe I don't see them getting rid of Rashee Rice though.
No, not Rashee, but maybe let me see here. Maybe Brown. Yeah. I know they just got him. But Hollywood Brown
to kind of shuffle them around. They got nothing to lose, because that's what the reason they grabbed Hollywood Brown. They wanted to fill in to have that spot, right there.
Yeah.
Kind of that number 2 kind of, target to go to.
He's a name.
Travis Kelce. So
he's a name.
Absolutely.
So maybe they could sell the Niners on his name and saying, well, he really hasn't had a legit offense that he's been in to be super successful. Like, think about it, like with Baltimore. Come on.
Yeah.
They're a running team. He didn't have many opportunities. Went to Arizona.
Had an opportunity to be the guy in Arizona, and it didn't really pan out. So
well, he did okay. Like, it's not like he flamed out. Like, he did good, but then you had Kyler Murray also got injured and was gone. So you didn't have your starter. So now you look at him now with the Chiefs, and he's new there. Now, I don't think it's out of realm of possibility of this being pulled off. I think not only is he a name, but also he could contribute, over with the Niners in the same kind of capacity that Ayuk did. Maybe not as good as Ayuk, because let's face it, I see Ayuk as way better than Hollywood Brown.
Oh yeah.
But at least it's something, right? At least it's something that you're offering of some kind of value, and you utilize the compensation to get it done.
Yeah, like you said, if they get Brandon Ayuk, I mean, it's almost locked in. And How great would the storyline be though? Because you just lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You trade with them, give them the Ayuk, and then if they both make it to the Super Bowl again, and there they are on opposite sides. Oh, that would be brutal, for the 49ers again. Now you just got to do the walk of shame home. I'm sorry. Bring your own pillow and see you later. So yeah, I mean that would be a cool, interesting scenario though. I mean, I like that situation.
I got another one.
All right,
this is going to be fun.
That sounds good. We could talk about this all night.
Let me just kind of get this all on board here. The Cincinnati Bengals, and I'll tell you why. Because T. Higgins has been in fluctuation of his contract, wants a new deal, has even went as far as saying, well, why don't you guys just trade me then? Because if you're not going to give it to me, someone else is going to give it to me. So T. Higgins could be that key cog in a trade where you could trade T. Higgins, who's not only a name, is in his prime, is young, and looking for a new deal that the Niners would definitely be able to do. And then the Bengals, if they view Ayuk as a better option than Higgins for the future, you lock him up, but then you still have to lock up Chase for the future too. So that might be a little tricky a little bit. But again, if you can pull this off and get Chase and Ayuk happy, now you got two studs out there that are deep threats. T. Higgins is fast for his size, in my opinion, but he's not technically a deep threat, like a guy who can beat out corners all routinely. So, and then keep in mind that you still have a young up-and-coming player from this draft in Jermaine Burton from Alabama, who's another speedster. So you could kind of almost get him in more of the rotation as well and become more a part of the offense. So that, to me, is intriguing, too, is like the Bengals could do something like this because they have a very unhappy player in Higgins who wants a contract. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And honestly, before week 8 gets here, the trade deadline, why wouldn't you entertain this at least? At least get the conversation going and seeing if you can pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see that too. Like you said, it's a little more difficult, I guess, but I do see the scenario where T. Higgins is not happy, so why not try and do a swap out where both players weren't happy, and T. Higgins should be if he's going to the 49ers, why not? And Ayuk, again, on the opposite side to the Bengals, who could be a contender too as long as Joe Burrow stays healthy and things. So,
and the other thing too to mention,
you're looking for those win-wins, but
the other thing too to mention too about it is that they're not going to re-sign him. Like, they're going to try, but they haven't gotten it done up to this point, and they're so unhappy on both sides that very likely they're not going to tag him. He'll be a free agent, so they get nothing in return.
They get nothing. Yeah, this way if you get Brandon Ayuk, I mean, that's great right there. So, and it would have to be, now you think it would have to be, they get Brandon Ayuk and then 49ers still get T. Higgins and more compensation, right? And what would that be? Would that be a 2 or would that be?
It would that'll be fun to it probably, because when you look at Amari Cooper, who's been established, who's been a deep threat, who's done everything from the outside wide receiver position. T. Higgins has been seen more as a slot receiver with Cincinnati, but he's also played outside too. So he's not your typical outside guy, but you would have to maybe go with Higgins and a second and something else. Like, I don't know, a 5th round pick. So a second and a 5th or something of that nature. 2nd, 5th, and Higgins for Ayuk. And who knows, Niners could hold out and be like, well, Higgins isn't really the kind of guy that we like in our offense. If he is talented and he's in and young and in his prime, we'll take him, but you're going to have to up your draft pick. You're going to have to give us a 1
maybe
and
conditional
Higgins.
Though too, possibly.
It could be conditional
depending on how we're certain, where they fall or something like that.
I think Bengals would. I think the Niners would want something ironclad. They're not going to want the conditional thing. And they don't have to move on from Ayuk, mind you.
Yeah,
he is under contract.
Yep.
So they could take the tough stance and be like, well, no, we're not going to trade him. And whether he sits out or not, he sits out or not. Like, they could just be, hard-headed about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So any other teams you're thinking?
Yeah. I got teams. And here's the thing.
Teams, man.
Let me tell you, every team that I've selected so far is in the AFC.
Yeah.
And that's something to remember, because an NFC team doesn't want to trade him in his division, doesn't want to trade him in the conference. They would much rather trade him, especially to a high-end caliber player. They want to trade him to the other conference. They don't want to see him. They'll eventually play against them, but they don't want to see him anytime soon. So, especially in the playoffs, right? So, I think the target is AFC no matter what. And if they can get a trade done, great. If not, I feel like they might just hold on to him. So, another team is the Buffalo Bills. Now, we talked about this before, about how we weren't as thrilled with the receiving core. They don't really have an outside corner or outside wide receiver. They have Curtis Samuel, who's been typically a slot guy in the NFL. He looks like he's penciled in anyway to play outside. You got Keon Coleman, who's a rookie coming in, who's a very big wide receiver, 6'5", 220 plus pounds, but he has speed to go with it. But he's not a dynamic guy that's going to just fly by your corners all the time. Like, he can, but he takes longer to build up to top end speed. So even though he has a speed, doesn't have acceleration. And then Khalil Shakir, who's getting a shot at starting and is kind of like that up and coming Bills wide receiver for Bills fans, that they've really loved him last year and what he was able to accomplish. They're looking to have him take a bigger step and more get more reps in terms of starting there and taking that offense and hopefully putting it up a notch. But that being said, you got guys behind him like Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who has drop issues from time to time. KJ Hamler, who's so far at a training camp anyway, since he's gotten to Buffalo, he's actually been kind of exciting to watch for Bills fans. And he's showing something to the coaches that he didn't otherwise. So maybe he could carve out a nice niche in terms of rotation. And then you got Mac Hollins, who Mac Hollins has been around. We'll just say that. Like, the guy's been around. He's a tall receiver, more like a possession guy, hasn't really done much. But you still, when you look at all those guys as a collective, you still don't have a number one. You don't. Mm-hmm. Like Keon Coleman, everyone can say, oh, but he's going to be a number one. Well, we don't know that. We haven't seen it yet. He hasn't even played a preseason game to see anything. So until we see something from him like that, I'm going to say no. I just don't see a clear-cut number one on this roster. And how easy would it be to trade like a Curtis Samuel, who is a name, who's been on Washington as a starter, is going to be a starter for Buffalo. But now it's like, okay, but he's still cheap. You could send him to the Niners. They don't have to spend no money. They actually save a ton of money. And now you work on compensation. Yeah. But then it at least gives you a legit receiver. The Bills are contending for the playoffs. The Bills are a winning team. They're a competitive team and a contender. And now you get yourself a number one. Now you can have the rookie Keon Coleman learn traits from Ayuk, and now you got yourself a nice 1-2 punch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's tough too, because during this whole situation, though, I think it's a lot of how this whole thing has played out and why is it the way it is. Some people are painting Brandon Ayuk as, more of the diva wide receiver because of all this. But then, others are looking at the 49ers and saying, why can't you guys just make it work for him and pay him? So
they want to pay him that much.
I get that. And I get that too. And I get that what Brandon Ayuk's going at. But the Bills, and especially we hear it around here in the media around here, is they talk smack now about Stephon Diggs now that he's not even around, and the fact that he was a diva wide receiver stuff, and they don't want to invite that right back in if Brandon Ayuk happens to be that situation for him. And I think some fans would be kind of turned off about the Bills trying to go after him if that was the situation.
Well, I don't think you're not going to see a diva situation. The only reason why you're hearing from Ayuk right now is because he wants to be paid his money because his contract is ending. Like, that's really what it is. It's about job security for all these vets. So when it gets close to the end of their contract, whether it be 2 years left or 1 year or that same year left, they're like, dudes, organization, what are you guys doing? Like, do you want me to stay here, or like, what's happening? I need to know for my family. I need to know for my kids. I need to know for me. Like, am I staying or am I going? Let's make something happen. So that's where you start to see like guys kind of get a little antsy when it gets to the end of their contract.
Career or contract.
So I don't necessarily categorize it as diva. I just think that he wants to be given a raise, wants to know that the Niners have him in their plans and to lock him up.
Yeah, and I even see the other side, the other flip of the coin, because we know the Bills fans are also, desperate to get back to the playoffs and make something happen and look for that other guy since Stephon Diggs has moved on. They did a story out on the news locally about Mac Hollins, him stepping up and being that guy even too.
No way.
I know. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, I don't know.
No.
I know. This is what I'm saying. I just said how desperate they are to have a guy fill that void, and they did a story on Mac Hollins. I was like, are you serious? Like, this is the guy that you just interviewed, and like, this is the guy that you thought was going to step up? Like,
right. I have more confidence in Khalil Shakir than I do Mac Hollins.
Right?
Like, at least he's young. He's up and coming. He's shown flashes here and there. Like, I have more confidence in him than Mac Hollins. Sorry, guys. And MVS either. Like, we've seen him with the Chiefs. That's why he's now on another team. Because he couldn't consistently catch a ball, even when he's wide open by himself.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, and with the Bills fans, and they don't want another diva, but they want a stud.
Yeah.
They want a stud, and this is a guy that can come in. I don't think he's a diva. Like, I know he's being categorized. So. I know by some media out there and everything, they're categorizing him as a diva because he's just simply like, hey.
He's turned down some other contracts that were lucrative, you know.
$26 million a year. The Niners originally offered him, but he thinks his value is higher. He thinks he's a better player than that amount of money. So I see it as negotiating. I see it as like, hey, listen, you guys got to come up a little bit more. You know, like what's the chance that the Niners say, okay, well, we're not getting draft compensation like we want from any team. Let's give him a different offer. What are we really comfortable with giving him? And like, let's just give him one last offer. And if he turns it down, then we're going to have to then we're going to have to pull off a trade, whether we like it or not. At least we get something in return and we can move forward. And they come back with like $29 million on average per year. Is that enough to get him to like kind of like, all right, cool, well, let's do that? Because you're going to be with a winning team. Like, it gets to a point where a team just gets fed up, and you know, and you're starting to see it now with San Fran, where that's why they're just saying to him like, hey, Brandon, since we haven't been able to come close on a deal. We're gonna allow you to go seek a contract and possibly trade you to another team. So why don't you go out there and see what you can get?
Yeah,
like it's.
I think they're playing it fairly well. I mean, again, they've offered the money.
Yep.
Which I think is fair compensation for what he is. And he's still not happy. But then on the other hand, too, they have been very helpful too in saying, hey, you go look, we're going to approve a bunch, and you're the ultimate decider of what's going to go on. And they didn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? Like you said, we've seen other teams just been like, nope, sorry, absolutely not. I mean, who knows what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys right now. Again, CeeDee Lamb, they moved to the reserve, did not show up list, and things like that. So they're dealing with their own situation over there. That one can get pretty intense, you know, further down. But.
So that whole situation there, like, I feel like both sides are in talks. Both sides are. Neither one is flustered. Neither one is aggravated with the whole negotiation going down. But I think they're just playing. They're both playing it safe. So. While talks go on and continue, CeeDee Lamb is going to stay in shape. He's training by himself with other trainers in a different facility, and until a contract gets agreed to, then he'll come in. It's that simple. So I definitely think the Cowboys are going to get a deal done, and that's what they've been working on. And I think this is more of a issue for media than it is for the Cowboys or CD. That this is all going to get ironed out. I would be absolutely shocked if it doesn't. And then it goes to an extreme where now, what are you going to do with CD? Like, is he going to show up for the season? Is he going to hold out longer? Then it might get a little bit crazy, but I just don't see that happening. I think they are going to get a deal done. They're going to get it locked up, and the Cowboys fans got nothing to worry about there. There's a couple other teams that I'm going to throw out there. They're not necessarily contenders, but they're both teams that are kind of building towards that direction. I would say like maybe the Colts, maybe the Jaguars, because they lost some arsenal there at wide receiver. Even the Raiders, they were in early talks about possibly trading Devontae Adams because he is 32 years old.
Yep.
And that contract next year, they're going to be looking to either get out of or restructure. So why not pull the trigger? You get yourself a 26-year-old wide receiver. And, yeah, he might not be Devontae Adams, but he's really good.
Right.
So that's an option. The Colts, another option there. You got a young quarterback. You got a lot of money to utilize and get him a big-time threat like Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that puts him over the top of beating the Jaguars and at least contending against the Texans. So, in Tennessee, but Tennessee's already done their homework. They do have DeAndre Hopkins. You know, he's another guy that's aging. Like, maybe the Tennessee Titans, like, hey, we got a youth movement going on. We got our quarterback. We got running backs that are young. Everybody's young that we brought in. Like, let's continue the trend and let's move Hopkins.
Yeah.
Let's get Ayuk in here. And now we got everybody young. Big. So
yeah,
I think that's another AFC team that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of the AFC teams obviously would love Ayuk. It's just a matter of coming to an agreement with compensation and a contract with Ayuk, and that's very difficult to do.
Right, and they're both with, or a couple of those teams do have young quarterbacks, and they do have the veteran wide receiver to unload if they had to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you said, even the Raiders are in between quarterbacks right now, you know, still don't have a major contract for, a bigger inflated contract.
Rookie deals.
Same thing with Richardson and the Colts, and then also Will Levis and the Titans. You know, and again, they have something to offer, but then also something to improve themselves as well. And those might be the better options for draft picks, too, that's going to be included in some of these.
Right, because you would typically think that those teams are going to be at least picking in the middle.
Exactly.
They might not be picking high, but they'll be picking in the middle because they are getting better. So, you know, and then you got to sell to Ayuk. Yeah. Like, you come here, we're going to win. You know what I mean? Like, you're the last piece we need on this roster to get over the hump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to spin it that way because you can't say, well, currently, what have you done currently? Oh, we haven't made the playoffs. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, haven't made the playoffs, but they, you know, it's tough too with the Titans because again, new coaching and stuff like that. If Vrabel was still there, he could say, "Hey, we've been making the playoffs, or you know, just out of it the last season, but before that, we were there. Every single time."
Another team too. Like, I didn't even really think about this, but Denver.
I was thinking Denver. I was looking at it, but then again, they do have a young quarterback that could start potentially. They definitely need.
They technically.
Help. But what do they offer then? And is it a great wide receiver and stuff like that? But for him, what's in it for him? You know, I don't see them making a push for the playoffs after this.
Right. Yeah, I see your point, but I'm just saying, like, it's another team that they could throw their hat in the ring and possibly try to get something done. You know, they at least stir the pot a little bit. Like, because they definitely need receivers. They got Cortland Sutton, and that's it, pretty much. So I'm not buying into Marvin Mims whatsoever. Like, he's been there for a couple of years, and you just been a rotational guy. You've been a guy that hasn't been that much involved. So maybe if they could convince Ayuk, like, hey, listen, we're on the upswing, guy. Like, oh, you are. You know, like. But, you know, it's fun to talk about these situations and what teams may or may not be interested in. Can they pull it off? Can they not pull it off? So it's definitely going to be an AFC team. I definitely don't think it'll be NFC. But, you know, sometimes that's when it takes drastic measures from the Niners, right? Like, if they can't get a deal done with an AFC team and they're not getting the compensation that they want, then maybe they'll turn their sights into the conference of the NFC, but definitely outside the division, and it could be another fun conversation if that is to occur. I can't wait to talk. I can't wait to see what ends up happening with Ayuk. Does he get traded? Does he stay? And does he play?
Yeah. We've got a comment in the house. So Life Changer on YouTube is in the house with us.
What's up, Life Changer?
They just say C.J. Stroud. So
CJ Stroud. So you're saying, are you
maybe
thinking
another
Texans?
weapon for CJ Stroud? That would be crazy.
Yeah,
right? But again, what are they gonna do? They just got Stephon Diggs. Too.
They just traded for Diggs. They got him locked up. And then you look at the young talent that they have around him. Nico Collins had a phenomenal year last year. Tank Dell got injured early last year, but he's coming back healthy.
Yeah.
He was really gaining a lot of traction in terms of being in that top tier type of threat. And then you got guys that kind of like are young and haven't been able to get enough reps on the football field. Like John Mechie III, who they drafted in 22. So they have a nice rotation already, and they're all young. Diggs is the oldest dude. So they're all young. They're all up and coming. And I get what you're saying. Like, why not add another weapon? Like, it would be insane to think, but I don't think the Texans would be interested right now with what they have, young guys, and why would they give up draft compensation at this point when they're already a solid team, already have proven that with a rookie quarterback last year, they could make the playoffs. They could push for it, win a division and whatnot. So doesn't make much sense to me, like, especially for the future. I get what you're saying. Like, put him with CJ Stroud's going to be exciting, and it would be awesome. But at the same time, it doesn't make economical sense for the Texans to spend that kind of money right now. And the fact that to give up draft picks when they don't need to, their team is already legit.
Yep, I agree. But thank you so much for the comment.
Definitely appreciate the
Life Changer.
comment,
We
though.
definitely
Thank you, Life
appreciate
Changer.
that.
And
All
you have
right.
changed my life. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so every year we do this for the past couple of years now. Before we get into it, Life Changer says Texans offensive is nice.
He goes, he thinks their defense is very scary,
Very
and
scary.
it is.
It is.
Their defense got better than last year, and their defense was already good. Like, they were kind of like the under-the-radar team before the season started last year, and then we saw we weren't sure what we were going to get out of the rookie and C.J. Stroud. Like, I was kind of on the bandwagon of C.J. Stroud from the draft because I'm a huge fan of his. And I just thought that he was going to overcome a lot of the NFL issues that rookies normally deal with, and he proved it right. So, but now it's time to get better. So the team has gotten better. Like, whether you look at the roster, the talent level is better, they're healthier, and Stroud's going to have his rookie year under his belt and is looking to even get better than what he did in his rookie year. So that's got to be scary for a lot of teams that have to face off against him.
Absolutely. That's going to be exciting to watch. We're excited for it.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of those teams
Definitely.
that a lot of people are on really high on. We talked about it with Brian Noe last week on the Blindside Blitz, our other show, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. So check us out there on grumblingsmedia.com.
Thanks for the comment, Life Changer.
Yeah,
again.
absolutely. Again,
Appreciate it.
Bringing it. I love it.
He's starting it off.
Yeah. So every year, again, I was saying we get into this Madden re-ratings because they do the big ratings. They come out every single season.
Right.
And a couple years ago, now probably 5 years ago, I was just really had enough. I'm sick of this shit. I was like, dude, I'm done with this. The 99. Club and all this stuff. Nobody can be in 99. And the people that they even have in the 99 this year,
Right.
Come on, man. Seriously. Travis Kelce in 99. Give me a break,
come
bro.
on.
Come on. You're killing me.
Don't get me wrong. Like, he's good, but he's not like
It's not in the
perfect.
99. Like, he's debating retiring every single year. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, last couple of years.
Yeah, give me a break. Like, so the 99 thing I think is stupid because, again, no one's ever going to be a 99. And for it to jump off from that 99 to others in his that are still playing, that are just under, say like Mahomes and things like that are still in the realm of the top 5.
Right.
To say that they're like a 91, like 8 points, less than a 99. Like, give me a break, man. It's like it's whatever you like. You've talked about this before. Who's the greatest of all time and this and that. That would be debatable all day, all over the place because people like certain things about certain players and and things like that, eras and all this other junk. Again, it just blows my mind. So
yeah, you're gonna have differing opinions, no matter who it is.
Right.
Like even with us, like we have differing opinions on maybe Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or any of these big names. That we're about to talk about, like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott. Like, but there's sometimes we agree. But then there could be, like, our audience out there they're like, what are you guys talking about? Like, no, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, hands down. Like, it's not even close. Like, what do you guys, you know what I mean? So everybody has differing opinions, and that's why it's so fun to debate and talk about these things. But then when it came to Madden, we did this a few years ago. When it came to Madden, we're looking at all these rankings, and just like Jim was saying about, the 99 is like so hard to attain. How can you be near perfect? How can you be like, there's players every single year that get this 90, they do the 99 club. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what it's more for. Like, it might not be necessarily what they should be in Madden, but at the same time, they're like, oh, it's part of like an elite club. So we view these players as elite, and that's why they're in the 99.
Right. And Life Changer says, that's what I said. CJ Stroud is disrespectful. You know, his rating is disrespectful. They've got Brock higher than CJ.
Well, yeah, but you know what?
That's debatable altogether with a few
it's definitely debatable. It's awful. Also, there's a reason for it, because Brock Purdy is an experienced quarterback. CJ Stroud just started his career last year. And that's kind of what they're going off of. That's the only reason why Purdy is ahead of him. And honestly, Purdy is
if
really
he plays good this year, he's going to be a 99, right? You know, it's like they're going to jump him up like that.
To next
just
year.
Like that.
Right. Right. If he has another really good year, yeah.
Right.
And even go further, like if he has a slightly better year than his rookie year. Right. Now you're talking next season, you're going to see him in the 90s at least. Right. Maybe 99 if they want to be that generous. But
yeah. We've seen him fluctuate all together.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That and stuff like that. I mean,
every
even
year.
Saquon's up there. He wasn't even considered in the 90s, and now he is. What does he say now?
He said Brock's team carried Brock. CJ carried his team. That's where I think we disagree. I think Brock Purdy, if you look at his stats and you look what he was able to accomplish in games, he actually did well. Like, yeah, there's stints for everybody where they might not have as good of a couple games here and there or whatever. But, I mean, you could find C.J. Stroud games where he had a bad game.
Oh,
but
the playoff game.
But the team still won or the team won. Mm-hmm. Like, so that always happens, right? Like, but Brock Purdy, I'll tell you right now, he should have been in the running for MVP last year. Him and Dak Prescott both. As much as I don't like Dak Prescott and I hate giving him props, but I have to because he did it. So Brock Purdy and him, to me, were legitimate contenders for that MVP last year, and they just didn't get a sniff. So Purdy, I think, is a really good quarterback. I think he's proven it, and I don't think necessarily that the Niners carried Brock Purdy. I mean, yes, does he have talented players? Of course. But if you're a quarterback and even if you're a halfway decent quarterback, let's just say you're an average quarterback, right? And you have that offense to work with. Don't you think you're going to do well? Like, unless you royally screw up and lose games for the team, you should do pretty well. Like, you don't have to be elite, but I think Brock Purdy is better than that. And I think it shows that, yes, he had tremendous talent around him, and that's what every team is trying to do, is build around that quarterback. So, and he just capitalized on it. That's why they ended up making the Super Bowl. Like, because they all work together, and that's what it's about. So I do appreciate the comment, and I'm a huge C.J. Stroud fan, but I got to say, like, Purdy is deserving of more accolades than not. And I know he got a little bit of a rough patch last season when he had those 2, 3, 4 games in a row that were pretty bad.
Right. And then, you know, some of these too. Again, he's right there. C.J. Stroud's right there with Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, 80. He's an 81, so he's tied with Jordan Love right now. And then just underneath them is Baker Mayfield. So, what we do is we cover the top 10, and we see their ratings using their data that they did put, you know, in the stats. And what's funny is now is Joe on their website for the ratings website that they have. They have actually started to do this in a sense too. They take all the other ratings that they've given them and they redo the numbers, and they come out to a completely different number.
But they're not
than like 99 and all this stuff. But they're adding everything.
But the funny thing is, they're not even in order,
though. Too.
They're not even in order for that. Like it's like you should put it in order, and then if you wanted to give them the 99 thing, you can give it to them. If you want to crown them,
if you want to crown them, crown them.
But like honestly, like this is kind of crazy how they have this all set up.
Yeah.
Oh, we got another comment. I can't see it all.
It's Life Changer again. It says, just throwing this out there. am I new here? And I'm new
actually
here,
enjoy
and I
this
actually
channel.
enjoy
Nice.
this channel. Though, thank you so much. Y'all actually chat with us, and God is great. That football is back. Yeah,
Appreciate you,
absolutely.
bro.
We definitely
Appreciate you.
appreciate you having you in.
Could
here.
you do us a huge favor? Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like right there, and tune in to us every single week, man. We're here for you guys. We love comments. We love people coming in and even giving us questions, even giving us your opinion. We really do appreciate it, and hope to see you next week as well.
Excellent.
Thank
Wow.
you, man.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we do go through the top 10. We take with their ratings, take their data that really pertains to the position, and then we use their data and get the average and re-rate it and fix it kind of for them in their sense. Like we said, we could give our
Nice.
own ratings, but you know, I mean, we could go all day and bitch about that all night long.
We could.
So here we go. Without
Don't
further
threaten
ado,
me with a good time.
Without further ado, so here is our top 10 right here. This is what they have. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, we talked about it, the 99.
Right.
Lamar Jackson in 98, I think, is ridiculous. I almost went a little too crazy
Did you
there.
throw
but
up in
I'm
your
saying
mouth a little bit when you tried to say that?
No, ridiculous. Joe Burrow, 93. Josh Allen, 92. That's debatable. Dak Prescott, we've talked about him being a top 5 quarterback. He is there with a 90. I think he's always like a 90 every year. Tua, dogged. Justin Herbert there kind of in a situation.
That's
This
a
is
little
where
high
I
for
think
me.
it's kind of funny with some of these guys. Where they kind of see them, but you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because again, they dropped down a little bit in play last season, so it's tough. Because when you look at it, is it off of what the last season was or what they expect? You know, because they tell you they have a formula and how they figure these things out.
I'd like to know the
But
formula.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. I'd like to talk to these guys and see where they get the formula.
So here's my thing about this too: is like they have all these guys that go out and they either watch film all season long. Or they have guys that like, because you'll even have players be like, "Yo, what's up with my speed rating? Like, I want to prove, I want to prove to you guys that I'm faster than you think." And they actually do a 40 for them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what? You're just making it up as you go. Like that's what it sounds like.
How do you judge it? My toughness would be my biggest one. I'm
It
like, dude,
sounds like that you're purposely making up a number, just off the cuff, and you're like, because there's no real way to kind of like categorize it with a 4.40 versus a 4.5. So what are you saying? Like a 4.5 is in the 80s and a 4.4 is in the 90s? Like, is that what you're doing? And then from there, you just make up a number? Like that to me is how I actually think they do it. Like, I don't think there's this crazy formula that, oh, we're going to add up these times and then we're going to average it out and that's going to equal the speed rating for over here. When we're going to divide it and then put a pi, formula like math problem, like, and try to figure it out that way. No, like this is not that complicated. I really do think that, just like I believe you do too. Like, I think they're making up some of these ratings, and then when people get offended by it, or even players speak up about it, and they're like, "Well, we'll kind of reevaluate, and then we might change your rating or not."
Right. Well, put it this way: agility, Patrick Mahomes, 87, Jalen Hurts, 91. And agility also Lamar Jackson at 95, which is understandable. He's very agile and things like that too. But like I brought the whole Jalen Hurts thing and stuff like that. We've seen things that Patrick Mahomes can do, and to say that Jalen Hurts gets a better rating than that and stuff, I think by a whole 5 points or whatever, it's kind of crazy too. So yeah, like you said, it kind of seems like they spitball this. All right, so looking back at the top 10 list again, just to see who's in the top 10. Even Joe, when you think about quarterbacks and top quarterbacks in the league, Kirk Cousins, injured a lot of last season.
How is he there?
Is in the top 10 here over a few others that we did mention. Like he said, like Life Changer said, CJ Stroud dogged on his rating. I get that, especially when you see Kirk Cousins over here in the top 10.
Yeah. Speaking of Life Changer, he said, I'd put Hurts over Tua. If they judge ratings off stats, it's not hard to get a high rating when your whole offense is built with speed. And you're right, speed does kill, and speed helps, obviously. But it's also about execution, too. So, like, for me, when you look back at last season, right? Yeah. Like, surprisingly, if you're surprised or not, Tua Tagovailoa was in the running for MVP halfway through the first half of the season, because that offense was electric. Like, that offense is very difficult to deal with, especially when they're healthy. And he was killing it in the NFL. He was leading the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns. He was killing it in QBR, like all that. And the second half was a very different story. They were still electric. They were still tough, but then you started to see injuries pile up, and they started to fall a little bit. Like Tua didn't do as well. But if and then you got Hurts, right? And Hurts last year, I'm sorry, but Hurts had a bad year last year for himself. He didn't play the same way 2 years ago. He looked like he was thinking too much at times. He looked like he wasn't executing as well, whether it be going through your progressions for your wide receivers or maybe breaking down the defense. Something was bothering him.
Right.
It just looked mentally draining, and it looked odd. He didn't look like Hurts, needless to say.
Put them in one of those spots to where you had to do that tush push to do that, go for it on fourth down a lot of times. If they didn't convert on one of those fourth downs, I mean, the Eagles are looking real
I
bad.
mean, you don't know because that's just now you don't get a first down. You punt the ball, like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just different. It changes the game, obviously,
Yeah.
but for Hurts specifically, like I want to see the Hurts from 2 years ago this year. If we see the Hurts from 2 years ago, then I would put Hurts over Tua. It's going to be a good battle though. We're kind of guessing how well they're going to play, but I agree with Tua right now being ahead of Hurts, but only because Tua deserved a ton of accolades last year before it started to kind of fall off the rails. But that offense is very tough to deal with, and he was executing. So I'm okay with Tua being ahead of Hurts right now.
Yeah.
Let's see if Hurts returns to the guy that we saw 2 years ago.
All right, so that's your top 10. The 5 that didn't make the cut that are honorable mentions right here again. Right outside is Aaron Rodgers, and he got an 83 rating, which, again, I
They're
think
going
is
off a
kinda
legacy
funny
right
too.
there.
Then Stafford with an 83, Goff with an 82, Stroud with an 81, and then Jordan Love with an 81. So that's your top 15 right now. And what we do when we do the numbers, we crunch all of those top 15 because a lot of times we find that with the ratings that they do give
it
some of these
fluctuates.
guys, it does fluctuate. And it's funny because mysteriously they do like some of these other guys better than the guys they actually put in the top 10 by some of the ratings they gave them. So they do find their way to creep back in. So then the order comes all messed up. So it's going to be fun to see this. So now next I'm going to have the next list, and we're going to unveil as we go.
Our ratings.
This is the ratings after crunching it.
That's right.
And here we go. Starting with the 10th spot here is Kirk Cousins. He is now, after crunching the
He's still
numbers,
10.
has a 79. Well, no, this is where I put him. I'll show you with the shuffling afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going with our top 10 here.
Okay.
Okay. So Kirk Cousins right there is now rated a 79. So
Okay.
he goes down
All right.
from an 83 or an 84. So now he drops 5 spots.
Okay.
Number 9, Brock Purdy. He
83.
is an 83 now and no longer an 85, so he drops 2 spots.
Gotcha.
At number 8, Jalen Hurts, an 88.
See that life
he
changer?
actually goes up. He went up 2 spots.
See that life change?
Yeah, see that?
Hurts is moving up.
Hurts is moving up. There he goes. And all right, so here at number 7, there's Justin Herbert. He is an 86.
Okay.
So he stays exactly the same.
Does he?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an 86 before, I think.
I
or
thought it was
maybe
an 87,
Maybe he was an
but all right.
87. So, yeah, maybe he was an 87 before. You're right. And next now, Tua becomes an 85.
There you go, life
So
changer.
there you
Just
go.
got his
Do you
wish.
feel better about that?
That's
There
right.
you go. Oh, man. All right, so there
Gets
you
his
go.
wish.
So there you go. So now we're getting into our top 5. All right, top
Right.
5. Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Dak Prescott is an 88, so he drops from a 90 to an
Okay.
88.
Couple spots.
Josh Allen,
91.
91. So he is
One tick?
Yes, that's right.
1 point down?
He just 1 point down. That's
Okay.
right. All right, so now
Number
we're getting
3.
to our top 3 here. And Joe
Joe
Burrow,
Burrow,
is an
89.
89 now.
Out of the
So
90
he
club.
drops out of the 90s. So it's funny that they put him so high at number 3. But then when you look at the ratings that they gave him, especially in the accuracy, between mid and deep range and things like
yeah?
that, they gave him a 99 short range, and then 85s and 80s, in the deep and mids.
What changes so much?
I
Because
don't
honestly,
know.
I think he's a very accurate quarterback. So I don't know why there's such a big range of the point system there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so here finally now the last two here.
Number two,
Lamar Jackson is
92.
a 92.
Number one is Mahomes
Patrick
with 92.
Mahomes is a 92.
Ooh, they're even now.
They're even now. But what's funny, too, is when you look at these, when you do the averages, again, you're down to decimal points, tenths of 100. And then I always go to
Gotta round
the thousands. So,
Yeah, you gotta round it.
and so this is going to determine between those ones that have the ratings and things like that,
Right.
who's moves up and moves down and who jumps some spots.
Yeah, so real quick, life changer, and
Sure.
anybody that's watching, how we go about figuring out our ratings is we still utilize Madden's ratings. However, we get rid of all the nonsense, like the nonsense categories that don't, play into that position. So, like for quarterback, like ball carrier vision, why is that on there? Like they shouldn't. That should not. That category should not even be there. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that, like spin move or something like that. Like they're not all running backs, guys. So we just take that catching. You know what I mean? Catching and stuff like that.
Oh
like
my God,
release.
who the
So
hell
all that.
cares?
Yeah, exactly. Who cares about those categories? Like get them out of there and let's take it down to the bare bones of it. Let's only review them over the categories that matter for in this one quarterbacks.
Yes, it does. That's right. So, all right. So I crunched the numbers and again looked at the remaining 11 through 15 too, and this is what I came up with. Now
Well, I can't
will
wait.
give you
I can't wait to
the
see
new
this.
top 10, and here it is.
Boom.
Lamar Jackson is now the top
Wow.
player in Madden by hundredth or
Yes.
thousandths of a point or so.
Okay.
Actually, it was fairly drastic looking if you looked at
That
tenths
is
of 100.
crazy. Yeah, that's so different.
Lamar, and that's even without adding his running ability to this too, Joe. So
Right.
this is how high they really think of Lamar Jackson,
Right.
which I don't know. I mean,
It's even with
crazy.
even with the new ratings that we did, like we're talking quarterback. So we've had this argument before with Lamar Jackson. Like I think he's still a decent quarterback, but I don't view him as an elite quarterback. Like he's not going to be able to carry your team, and we've seen proof of it. We've seen him in the playoffs, where like it's almost in the second half of the playoff game where they're playing the Chiefs, where he stopped running.
They needed him.
He just stayed in the pocket and tried to like find people open and try to throw the ball, but he just didn't do a good job of it. And they ended up losing because of it instead of utilizing his legs. So if you're going to give him a rating and make him like the number one quarterback in Madden, like that's insane to me because in real life, he's not that way. In real life, look at last season's stats. There are a couple of stats where he comes in the top 10, in terms of quarterbacks, but everything else that matters, like your completion percentage, your yards, your touchdowns, your interceptions, all that kind of stuff, he's not even in top 10, nowhere close. Like he's not that passing quarterback that people keep pushing him to be. Don't get me wrong, he's definitely a good quarterback, but he's an even greater weapon all around. And that's where you have these fun debates with Lamar Jackson, because some say, well, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Well, it depends how you look at it. If you're looking at as a quarterback, like can he carry your team and throw the football and distribute it to different receivers and go down the field that way? No, he can't. That's not him. And in fact, when he first came into the league, he struggled with that. He couldn't do it well. He struggled mightily. That's why they had to bring in a new offensive coordinator, change the offense to fit him and his athletic ability and his running style. And now you look at this Ravens team and they're, because of him being the weapon that he is, they're very hard to deal with. Because he can run, because he can dump it off if he's running out of the pocket and you come up as a defender, he just drops it over your head and, completes the pass that way. So he's more of a weapon to me than just a quarterback. So call him what you want, a running quarterback, whatever. And I think Lamar Jackson should embrace this.
Yeah.
For all the criticism that he's taken about, oh, you're just a running quarterback, you're just a runner. Who cares? Bottom line, what's your job? Win the games. Bottom line, what's your job? Get that championship. I don't care how you do it, Lamar. I don't care if you run for 3,000 yards this season and you win a championship and you only threw for like 2,000.
Yeah.
Who cares how you do it? Just do it. You could be one of the best ever.
Because that was even some of the things that made some of these quarterbacks well known and special.
Right.
Randall Cunningham, Joe Namath scrambled about, and things like that. Again, Michael Vick, a lot of people never even seen things like that, what he had done before. You know what I mean? So that made a big difference. By the way, Life Changer says, I think you guys got a future in EA Sports, LOL. These ratings actually make sense.
We appreciate that a lot, man. Thanks for the kind words.
Puke breath. I'd kiss you.
He also says in Madden terms, he's an improviser quarterback. Yes,
improviser.
And
that's actually even put down, right?
That's a great term for him because he is.
Yeah.
Because Madden does have those terms where it's improviser, it's pocket
X-factor.
passer. Those are different. But it's improviser, it's pocket passer.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Field general.
Field general, right. So it's like, but no, that's a good term to use for Lamar, and he is.
Mm-hmm.
But to call him just like one of the best quarterbacks, it's a tricky debate. But at the same time, like he's not a true quarterback. Mm-hmm. He's a weapon, like just like Life Changer mentioned. Mm-hmm. He's an improviser, so like he can take off and run with the ball, and he's like lightning in a bottle. Like he's very hard to tackle in the open field. Sometimes he runs for 60-yard touchdowns if you let him out.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where he just has to do the bare minimum and little dump here, dump it to Mark Andrews, let him run after the catch, like simple stuff like that. So I don't know. Like I disagree with him being number one, but
well, you obviously do. You've had a lot to say about this guy, but
because this stems from last year.
Yes.
This stems from him winning the MVP.
Yes,
he won
true.
the freaking MVP race.
All right.
Like, come on.
Excellent. All right, so here we go. So Patrick Mahomes now scoots down to number 2. Josh Allen now bumps up to number 3, and Burrow, like you said, out of the 90s, and they're at number 4. Hurts top 5. Dak drops out of the top 5. And the funny thing is, you see, is Aaron Rodgers bumps into the top 10, and Brock Purdy there is at 10. So no longer do you have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins fell
anymore. Kirk Cousins dropped out, and what's funny is Kirk Cousins dropped so far that he is actually down to 15th in this whole thing.
Really?
When you look at the stats they gave him.
So what's his rating now?
His
that he
rating
fell that far.
that he fell down is a
79?
9.
Wow.
79.
That's wild.
Yep. 79.
That's wild.
And again, some of it, one particular attribute, which again I think is a dumb attribute that they should get rid of since they put it in. It's this attribute, the point or whatever that they put in there. We hated it ever since.
Yes.
And the ratings, they just, like I said, spitball, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Is breaking sack. The breaking sacks. They've been up and down with some of these guys. They just feel like this guy they feel is just can't do it.
They make it
can't
up.
do it.
They make it
But
up.
in this one particular, everybody breaking sack has been between 90s to 80s. And then Kirk Cousins, for some reason, is a 41.
Hey.
Why? Why is he all of a sudden? Has he ever shown that he can't really break a sack? But all these other guys, Stafford, has broken sacks like astronomical. Jared Goff is an 81 breaking tackle. I mean, are you serious right now?
Have they gone through and watched sacks being made and they just escape
to a 41 of Kirk Cousins? Like, why the hate?
You know who deserves a 99 rating in terms of breaking the sack? He doesn't play anymore.
Ooh.
Eli Manning.
That's what I think. And that's what they gave him, like a 39.
I know, it's insane.
I'm like, are you, and then for it to be part of it and add it, and then when it came to his accuracy in some of these too, that's where, they actually give him good attributes, but everything else, not very strong. A 50 being strong with strength, agility only a 70 and stuff, which I get there too.
Well,
but the 41 really knocks it to you. Really knocks that rating down. Life Changer says Madden trying to sneak on age joke in there. 41.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's got to be maybe, right?
Has to be. Has to be.
That's got to be. But then again, Aaron
100%.
Rodgers up in there, creeping up there now at 84, so he's a little better.
I'm actually
and at
happy
the
to see that.
end, Love and Stroud move up just to 11 and 12. They are tied with an 82,
Okay.
but Love got the nod because, again, just of tenths
He's
or
younger.
hundreds of a point in on average better. But that's probably better for what Life Changer's talking about though too.
Yeah.
Kraken
Yeah.
just out of the top 10 after coming off of a rookie season, still has more to prove, can
Right.
move, has room to move, is still an 81 or an 83 or 82 right there. And they gave him an 81, so it's up by one tick. It's close.
Uh-oh. You know who just showed up, right?
Well, yeah, and I think we need to introduce our new friend, Life Changer, to our know-it-all, OG.
Hashtag know it all.
He's
Mike
a day
Tackett.
one.
Mike Tackett, and this is how we treat our loved ones here. Mike Tackett in the house.
What's going
always
on, Mike?
Bringing it. He says, "How unfortunate that Lamar Jackson is playing in the same era as Patrick Mahomes. I think any other era, Lamar would be considered."
Second best to Patrick Mahomes. Reminds me of Dan Marino and Jim Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't.
We see this. With
I could get
Arizona.
really.
We just talked about this last night on the Blindside Blitz.
Yeah. I could really get into this, and I don't want to because I'm going to go down. I know.
Go down that
I
rabbit
know
hole.
myself too well. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole
Well,
with
you
this.
just got done talking about Lamar Jackson, so.
But no, I'm going to say about Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Like, I don't think he's the best quarterback in football. Like, I just don't. Like, I've seen more times than not him make mistakes, and everybody only remembers the bombs that he throws and throws touchdowns. Don't get me wrong. I think he's still a really good quarterback, but I don't put him on a pedestal like everybody else. I look to see what he is for what he is. Like, he's a very good quarterback, but I don't consider him elite like everybody else. Like, there are guys that, sure, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, like all these names that are younger, they are on the rise. I'll say that. They're on the rise, but to me, they're not. None of them are elite yet. We haven't seen it yet.
Right.
So they all have made mistakes in playoffs. They've all done things throughout the regular season where it makes you scratch your head. And so, like, to me, it's more of a wait and see who's going to be the next elite. Like, I don't view any of those guys right now as elite level.
It's kind of funny is if you look at Life Changer says same as Brady and Peyton. And
Okay.
like I said, that's what we had brought up when we were talking about legacies and certain players last night on our other show, The Blindside Blitz, on grumblingsmedia.com and YouTube. You can check it out. 9 p.m. every Tuesdays. Eastern. Yeah. Another plug. So Life Changer, go over to that one. Check it out too. We're there. But I'm surprised when you look at this and you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's now the chosen one.
He's the golden child.
Yeah, the golden child amongst referees, everybody.
Oh, my God, yeah.
You ever see that movie Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
Yes.
That's what they should even play. Like when he's out there, I want to see somebody dub Kung Pao Enter the Fist with Patrick Mahomes. Chosen one. Wee, 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 wee. I think it would be hilarious, but this is maybe that next era of quarterbacks,
Right.
It is very parallel to what I said last night to when we were talking about legacies. It was the Hall of Fame talk.
Right.
Eli Manning's up for the Hall of Fame bid next year, first time, and you bring up to the fact, is he a Hall of Famer? So it opened up a whole nother conversation, Phillip Rivers, stuff like that. And I said the thing about Phillip Rivers is he can be left to the wayside to some of these, even though his stats are there and how he played, he made it to the playoffs. It's just it was sad for him because he was in the era of Brady and Manning in the same conference. So you get to the playoffs every year and you see either Brady or Manning. Yeah. And there you go. You're getting knocked off, and so you're never able to get there, you know what I mean? And then Roethlisberger comes through on top of it. So then when you got these other guys, you're seeing it with Josh Allen, Burrow. These guys have gotten to the Super Bowl or even the championship game. But if they don't ever get back there, if they keep getting back there and then keep losing, what's going to be the scenario or the written word or the story for Josh Allen, Joe Burrow? Are they lost in it all? I'm like, yeah, but you never won the big one, so he's just
Yeah, because there's some greats that didn't win a Super Bowl, like
Right.
Dan Marino.
Right.
Dan Marino was one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game.
And
hands down.
And probably a lot of younger people that don't remember Marino or never got a chance to see him play.
Go watch some games. Go
Wouldn't
watch
have
highlights.
wouldn't have the opportunity to justify seeing some of that.
We got
and not
another
knowing.
Mike Tackett comment.
All right, what does he got to say here, Joe?
Questionable. I didn't see the whole thing. I can't see it because it's
okay.
too far up.
All right, here I'll have to adjust the thing here. There we go. From a skill set, I agree. Mahomes makes more questionable choices. I do think, however, being a 3-time Super Bowl champion at age 28 definitely persuades the opinion of some more casual viewers, which
Right.
I get that too.
I get that,
And we
yeah.
talked about this too with when it comes to Hall of Fame type of voting and stuff. And it's what you do in those moments is what I had said. I do because I think Woodson is a multiple, Charles Woodson is a multiple Super Bowl winner, and he's still out there. It hasn't even made the cut and things like that in the Hall
Which
of Fame.
is astonishing.
Right.
I don't know how
And
he's not
you've
in.
got a couple other guys that have won Super Bowls, but again, okay, they've been on the team that has won Super Bowls, but
Right.
what does that even do for you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's a team- it's a team
stats
achievement.
It's a team achievement, but like I said, you can add them if you're a significant part in those Super Bowls. And
Yeah.
you cannot deny that Patrick Mahomes was the integral part to 2 of those at least. The other one, yes, the offense was great in this,
Yeah.
but the comeback victories and
Yep.
making the plays when it mattered
Yep.
with seconds to minutes to seconds to run on the field, not even using his arm that he's known for, running around and making plays, those first downs, and getting it done for the team. That's the moments you remember. That's what I brought up the fact with Eli Manning is without shrugging that, like you said, breaking sack, without shrugging off, defenders and heaving that ball to the right spot where it
Yeah.
needed to be.
Yeah.
That's a Super Bowl moment, and that's history.
Like Life Changer mentioned earlier about Lamar Jackson being an improviser.
Yes.
I wouldn't title Mahomes that because he is a quarterback. Like, he's a better quarterback than improvising. I would call
Yeah.
him just an enigma
Yeah.
because he does things that they don't teach. Like, it's spur of the moment. Like, when he's moving gets out of the pocket and it looks like he's going to take off, but then he kind of hesitates on long enough to where his running back leaks out to an open part of the field and he just dumps it over the heads of the defenders as they're pursuing him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he does things to influence the defense and then makes a play out of it. It looks like the play's done. Like, this guy's going to get pushed out of bounds or he's going to get sacked or everybody's covered, nothing's going to happen. And then he either takes off or makes a play happen out of nowhere. And that's the difference. That's the Mahomes effect. Like, he is dynamic in that aspect. Like, he just makes stuff happen. And that's where people get enamored with Mahomes and say, oh my God, best ever. Like, he's the best in the league. But then what people don't pay attention to is the mistakes that he makes. And that's why when they put him on the pedestal, they're like, oh, did you see that throw? Yeah, but the last series he threw a pick. Like, no one remembers the bad things that he does, but everybody remembers the great things he pulls off. So
Right.
I think that's where it transcends and separates itself.
Right. And I think the thing, though, everybody is also quick to try and crown somebody on top of it.
The next guy, right? The
Because
next king.
Yeah, because that's what they're looking for, because they need to have a face or this and that. And he probably openly admit he has some faults he needs to change up. And
He's
things,
still very good
which
court.
you
Like,
still
he
do.
is an
Right.
He is an
And
amazing talent. Don't get me
when
wrong.
you
I'm
talk
not trying
about
to.
improviser, he trains his body to make those types of throws. You see
Yeah.
that when you watch that
Yep.
the show, the quarterback show.
Yep.
He shows the different exercises he's
Yep.
doing. He's doing it so his body is able to contort to those spots and make those throws.
Right.
and
He
things like that.
practices and makes it a routine of his.
Exactly.
So, like, that way it's not foreign when he gets out there and does it on game day. So, like, the whole, like, people call it a no-look pass, but he does look out the corner of his eyes.
You're
You know what I
always
mean?
doing
His
it.
helmet's the other way, and he
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of throws it off to the
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
He practices that with his teammates, so that way, when it comes game day, if he ever has to do that, he can do it with confidence. So kudos to Mahomes for doing things that are seen as unconventional, you know, not non-traditional type of a style of playing quarterback, but it's paying off. You know, obviously they're winning championships, and you have great coaching. Like, you got great coaching, a great team. It is what it is, right? Like, you got to beat. Now everybody's shooting to beat them.
Yep.
That's what it is. Like, now everybody's gunning for them, trying to knock them off their pedestal. Let's see if they can do it this year.
Yeah. I mean, this conversation went.
Because I'll tell you right now, as a Raiders fan, if they win a third championship in a row, it's gonna kill me.
It is rough. I mean, it is rough. I haven't seen anything like that since, the 90s Cowboys for me in my division.
Yeah,
it's very frustrating.
Yep.
I really enjoy the fact that, the Cowboys haven't made it far in the playoffs and into the Super Bowl in a very long time.
They're literally one and done in round one.
That's right. Yes, because they can still count how many rings or whatever they might have and this and that.
Right.
We're right there though too.
But they have
not
a 20
too far out. But again, But how long have you been waiting?
It's like
since the last one.
It's like 15, 20 years of losing in the first round of playoffs.
Right.
They make it, but then they lose.
Right. And us Giants fans still don't say, "Hey, well, this year we're definitely going to win." And then to repeat the same garbage every single season.
That's right.
No, us Giants fans are more like the
realistic,
self-deprecating. They're like, we just suck every year. We just want something to go right.
Just
give
us
we just don't
something
want
to
be
cheer
embarrassing.
Please.
Hey, we're not embarrassing. We won some games. All right. And speaking of which, the Daniel Jones, his rating goes to a 71. How about that?
Okay.
So, which I can see that too, I guess, because again, not a lot of people confident on Daniel Jones and what he can do, but
he hasn't had any real success, and part of that is because of the team around him. Part of it is because of himself. So there's that uncertainty. Like, is this guy ever going to get better? But to his credit, I think Brian Daboll. How do you say his last name, by the way?
Dable. That's how we say. Yeah, Dable.
I don't know if you say Duball or
Dayball. I think if you're Chicago, say Duball.
Chicago Duball. But Brian there, I think he envisions Daniel Jones that he can win with him. Nobody believes it yet, but I think he can, because he says, well, I see enough from him.
Yeah.
That if we put Malik Neighbors as their number one, if we short up the offensive line, if we give him weapons to throw to and to build around him, then the offense will take care of itself. So I think they have confidence in Daniel Jones, and that's why we heard that they were trying to trade up and get a quarterback this year, but it didn't happen. But I still believe that Brian Daboll thinks that he can get it done. Yeah, still. So I'm curious to see if anything changes this year. I believe it will, because having an immense talent like Neighbors, who is literally killing it so far in the offseason, understanding the playbook, chemistry is being built incredibly between those two, that I just think that the offense to me has to be better. It just has to be. And if it's not, then you know the end result. You know the direction that they're going to go in. Right. Yeah. And again, like you said, you can never trust practices. I can trust a little bit in a sense of some of the joint ones, I guess a little better, because then you're actually going against competition that does want to beat you, I think, in a sense, Yeah. So I like what I'm seeing out of Jalen Hyatt. So I hope that all that can pertain and move forward into the regular season. So I'm excited for tomorrow night's game. That's going to be fun. I like the Lions, and I like my team, so I'm gonna have a lot of fun watching that game. Life Changer says, "What are the rookie web ratings?" I think he means quarterbacks ratings. I think Caleb is a bust. Life Changer, he's right involved in our family already. Yeah, I like it.
No wonder why he likes the show.
I love it.
We had said that we think that he's going to be a bust.
Yes.
Can you separate them? Because I can go through the list right now, and right now the top rookie is Caleb Williams.
Can't separate them.
All right, so Caleb Williams is 76.
Yep. Drake May is 74.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Daniels is 74.
Yep.
Going down. And we're going down.
Bo Nix is a 71.
We ain't going down.
And Bo Nix, is a 71. J.J. McCarthy is a 71. Michael Penix Jr. is a 70. And
Good enough.
I think that's good enough.
Good enough. We're down to
Yes,
70
yes,
now.
Yes. What's funny
So-
too is you see like Jimmy Garoppolo and these guys go down to 67s. It's
Oh
funny
my
to see.
God.
Yep, isn't that crazy?
So here's what I'm going to say is I think that they've been very generous with the rookies this year.
Yeah.
Is they're giving Caleb Williams basically the benefit of a doubt and giving him a 76, which I think is high for any rookie coming in. Like, I understand the hype around him and everything, and everybody believes that he's going to be the difference maker, but not us. Not us. Not a fan of Caleb Williams at all. We did our life changer. Now that you're part of this community here, you're going to get to see next season. We do our own scouting. We rank our own draft picks coming out, our prospects coming out and everything. I didn't have Caleb Williams number 1. I had him slightly lower, but I'm not a fan of Caleb Williams because there's a lot of things to being a quarterback at the next level. You got to be a leader, number 1. You got to have great communication. You got to be able to read defenses. You got to be able to go through progressions. You got to have good mechanics. Like, there's a whole thing that goes together of being a really good quarterback and a great teammate. And for Caleb Williams, the evidence that shows in college wasn't a great leader. Where was the leadership? The guy's crying in someone's arms because they lost the game. When your other teammates are upset, but you're not with them. You're with whoever in the crowd. You're with his
mommy.
His mommy saying, "Sorry, mommy, I couldn't win this one for you." Like, and how can anybody take him serious when, dude, like, you paint your fingernails, you do all these outlandish things. You reprimanded, and that's the end. I mean, and I'm not saying anything work ethic wise. He's definitely a hard worker. He definitely has a cannon for an arm. He has the accuracy. He has the ability physically. But his mechanics are lack to be desired. He still has to work on them. He's never taken a snap under center in college. So, like, that's all got to be addressed at the next level. He's got to learn to take snaps unless they're going to go just shotgun only, which in this offense, that's what it looks like. Because, with this offense, that it looks like that's what they're going to have to adapt to, is they can't put him under, because if you start fumbling, it could lead to turnovers. So, and not to mention, we talk about turnovers. He's only played in a one-read system. At USC, he played one-read offense, where literally that's your primary receiver. That's who you're looking to throw to. If he's not open, make something happen. Get out of the pocket. Take off, run. Like, all these things were big red flags going into the draft, and Chicago still took him. And everybody thinks he's going to be the savior. I don't think so right now. Like, maybe he can prove me wrong over a few years or something like that, but I think that there's too many red flags to ignore, and I don't think when it comes time to play the regular season where defenses are being very tricky with what they're showing you and how they're going to attack you with a rush or whatever, if you don't see it coming, man, he's going to have a rough season.
Yeah, and like that's what I look at too. Like, because you could kind of see the similarities that people try and put them like with the Patrick Mahomes type of look into what people are looking at.
Right.
But I think with the more of the downside, like you talked about with Mahomes, with the turnovers, I can see that becoming more of an issue. So it's like kind of the other side of Mahomes, like
Can I ask you a question though? Like,
Yes.
I want your opinion on this. So, like, Caleb Williams. Now, would it concern you? Let's say the Giants drafted him, right? Would it concern you if you have a quarterback coming in that has only played in a style of offense where literally your primary receiver was the only read that you had to keep it simple? And now you have to go to the NFL where you have to go through progressions. You have to make a throw back to the other side of the field. This guy hasn't been asked to do that.
right.
Now you're playing at the elite level, and you're going to be asked to do all of that.
Yeah, because you're in trouble then. Look at what Manziel has been part of. Johnny Manziel making plays with his legs and this and that, and great at Texas A&M and stuff like that. But when it got to big boy football and things like that, he wasn't putting the work in. Not to say that Caleb Williams is the same way. Caleb
Right.
Williams, like you said, does put work in and stuff like that. But if you're used to a one read deal, if you get to the big show, these defenses are going to be toying with this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, you're going to see turnover city, you
Right.
know? So he's going to be trying to make it a play with his legs, think he's smart, and he's going to kind of do a cross-body throw or whatever and get himself into trouble.
And I
think
yeah.
that's what it's going to do. And like you said, would I? I would say no, because, again, I would like more of the guy that's like the field general that will kind of view the at the line and kind of already see what people are doing. The methodical and the the cerebral type. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'd rather see a guy that can read it right on the line. Life Changer said he'd rather take Mayo drinking coffee Levis over
Nice.
Caleb.
Nice. I like it. I like the nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Levis looks really good. I like that. And I thought he kind of got dogged in this one,
Everybody, well, dogged. I don't think he got dogged.
Well, I think compared to I guess if you look at Caleb Williams, if you put Caleb Williams above Levis without Caleb Williams even seeing what he does, I think is kind of messed up. But
For Levis?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Levis
Yeah.
should be higher for
Yeah,
sure. But
right.
like Mayo, I wouldn't say he's dogged. I would say
no, he's saying
even
Mayo,
in
no, he's not saying Mayo or Jake May. He's saying because Levis likes to drink mayonnaise in his coffee.
yeah, true. Yeah, which I haven't tried yet, so I'm curious.
I thought maybe we should do it on our show,
We might-
just to see our reactions. Would you guys like a reaction video if we did that? Like, here on
Or
the show?
eat a
Will
banana with the skin on it.
Will Levis Wednesday. That's what we'll do. Will Levis Wednesday. We'll eat the banana with the peel
With
and
the peel
everything,
on it.
right? And then the mayo and the coffee.
Oh God,
We
that's
will
gotta be
do
gross.
that. I will do it at least. I'll do that for you guys' entertainment out there.
I'll
Let
do it
us
for
know
you
in the
guys,
comments.
but
If we
no.
get enough comments in here,
Yeah. So
about it, we'll do it.
So what I would say is, like, for Caleb Williams going forward, like I get the ties to Patrick Mahomes. Like he does have the same kind of ish talents, but my thing is with Patrick Mahomes, you didn't have the progression issues. You didn't have the offensive issues that he was in. He did everything pretty well at Texas Tech. Like he did what NFL teams ask a quarterback to do. So you didn't have those concerns. But to me, for Caleb Williams to go 1 overall and for a team to put all the confidence in the world in him just based off of, well, he kind of looks like Mahomes. I think we could have ourselves our own very own Patrick Mahomes, ignoring the red flags that were already there. You had a lot of team executives, some GMs, even leading up to the draft that had major concerns about Caleb Williams, and not that they took him off their board, but they were like, we have other guys in front of him. We got Drake May, we got Jaden Daniels, we have guys that we have complete confidence in ahead of him. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Like we got to wait till the regular season to really get a good look at Caleb Williams and what this offense is capable of. But I agree with I agree with Life Changer. I don't think he's the right answer.
Right, and I just agree kind of on the part you were talking about too, because if you look at Patrick Mahomes and then Caleb Williams, they entered in different situations. Patrick Mahomes wasn't first overall, wasn't asked
he was
to
like
be
15th.
the guy. He was 15th. They got him at a steal.
Yep.
Alex Smith was playing well, and he got to sit behind him and then finally start with no pressure, none of that, all this stuff, and then he could just be him. Caleb Williams, again, going to ask kind of be that savior for these guys, for the Chicago Bears.
Everybody's
kind of
convinced
live
in
up
Chicago.
to the expectations, and he hears about the haters. He listens to us, Joe. He knows what we're saying.
He does.
So he's gonna try and be more of that.
watches
and
the show.
and do those things, and it could be embarrassing for him. And so there's a lot of pressure on top of that. So I'm in agreement with you on that too. So that could be an aspect.
Life Changer says if Caleb succeeds, it's because the Bears got him the help that Justin Fields never got. Partially, yes.
That could be part of it.
Part of it, I would say, is correct because they don't have the team that they have now. Like, they didn't have upgrades at wide receiver that they do now. They don't have an offensive line that's been upgraded, but when Justin Fields was there. So we had the fun debate before the draft came, like, keep Fields. Just keep Fields and build the rest of the offense around him, and then, in turn, you might get what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But they decided to move on, and they went with Caleb Williams, and they improved the offense immensely this offseason. So part of it, yes, I would agree with, but at the same time, Caleb still needs to execute. as a quarterback. I just haven't seen enough from him in college coming into the NFL.
This is the funny thing too when you bring this up, because this is we talked about this. Is it funny? We talked about it with other guys. Like it happened with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers too. He's like, this guy, I just want some more weapons, and they're like, yeah, whatever, just do it. And then they get rid of him, or he's gone, and then the weapons come, or something like, dude, what happened here? You know, like this. What is going on?
The following year,
you did this with Justin Fields. Same type of deal. You know, you're relying on Darnell Mooney and these guys, and it just wasn't getting it done. But this is the funny thing is because now again I'm hearing again with these, and we joke about it all the time, Joe, because it's mainstream media.
Yeah, that's right. Of course,
somebody seriously said something about Ryan Pace now needs to be taken seriously and one of the top GMs
really
in the NFL right now.
Why?
I don't know.
John
you know
Lynch.
what I mean? Like,
to me,
what?
John Lynch is one of the best GMs in it. Howie Roseman for the Eagles is one of the best GMs. Those guys are top two.
Yes.
Like you're telling me Pace because of what? Because the team hasn't been to the playoffs. The team isn't even.
What has he built?
Come on.
Like I said, what this season, and if they're successful this season for some reason, all of a sudden he's one of the greatest GMs in the league. That's what I think is kind of funny with this. And we talked about it with Brian Noe a little bit and others last night. Yeah. Because we did cover the NFC North, you know, by the way, too, on our show last night, too, as well. That some of these guys, these media, get really high on some of these teams for some reason. And you kind of got to stand back and kind of be like, whoa, this is scary. Why are they on this too much? It's almost like Vegas. Like you see the odds, and you're kind of like, wait a minute, they're dangling low-hanging fruit in front of me. This doesn't seem right.
That's right.
I shouldn't jump on this. I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon. They've done it with the Broncos, too. Remember that?
Oh, Broncos were going to go to the playoffs last year.
They were
going to go to the playoffs last year, everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this.
Oh, even the year before, even, too. When they even got Russell Wilson, let's ride. Here they come.
We pushed back so hard on all of that. Like, we were just like, listen, come on, media. Like, you realize what this team has right now on the roster. You realize what they've accomplished yet? Nothing. So, they had Russell Wilson, but come on. You didn't have the complete team.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Life Changer, really appreciate you, bro, dropping these comments, man. Definitely. That's awesome. Mike Tackett, you're always appreciated, bro. You're OG know-it-all.
#know-it-all.
For life. And really appreciate you guys dropping the comments and the questions and everything. It's awesome. It makes our job more fun.
It does.
Like, it really does.
Yeah, we do have a lot
Get
of
some
fun
feedback.
Definitely. All right, Joe. So, I mean, why don't you tell everybody, if you know it alls, already know that, and now Life Changer does. But anybody else out there that's listening, tell them where you can find more of our show, too.
It is very simple, and you'll see it at the end of the show, but I'm going to tell you now because I like to talk a lot. So you can easily head over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button there. Hit the like button as well. It kind of helps us with the algorithm a little bit, boosts us up just a tiny notch. And also comment down below. We are live every single week, every Wednesday night. I'm going to say 8-ish from now on because it seems like we always have a hard time getting on time. 8:30 is normally when we're on, but a little later, a little earlier, whenever it happens. And also you can follow us on Facebook. Make sure you get on there, become active, become a know-it-all. That's what this is all about. We're the best interactive NFL talk show out there, and we want to prove it to everybody. Make sure you help us out doing that. So appreciate everybody tonight. It's been a blast, Jim. It's been a lot of fun. We had a ton of comments, and can't wait for next week. Life Changer says, "Good luck with Mayo Coffee, guys."
Mayo Coffee, guys. Hey, that's if we get it. What do you? We should get a thing. If we can, what do you want to do? Well, should it be comments on this video, or should it be like get some more subs? If we can get subs to 100 right now,
how about whatever the know-it-alls want to do? If you want to comment Mayo Coffee in the comments, or like it, or just like the video, or share the video, or whatever.
Hey. Share the video, #Mayo Coffee.
That's right. There you go.
And then I will send it. Let's see. If we get it out there,
and we will do it. If you have any friends or relatives or anybody that loves football talk, bring them right here. Have them subscribe right away. And then we'll see everybody. When should we do it? Next week? The week after?
We'll let it breathe.
Let it breathe.
How
We'll
about
see what
right
happens.
before the preview show, right before the season starts.
Okay.
How about that? Which is only in like 2 weeks, right, or something like that.
Dude, it's creeping up, man.
It's
creeping up.
there. So,
But thank you guys.
Thank you so
Been
much.
amazing.
Enjoy some football this weekend. So,
That's right.
And
Preseason.
we'll see you guys. We can talk about it all
Peace.
next week and some more Madden ratings. See you later.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.